Welcome everyone to Donington Park, the sometimes home of Formula One that is now the site of the World Series League's newest race. That's right, we are ready to get going here for the latest round in the series. Everything lining itself up, looking good, and drivers are ready to go out on track. But that's not to say that this is going to be a walk in the park here, as I am joined in the booth by my commentary partner, Ewan O'Leary. And Ewan, this is a pretty difficult track to try to get an overtake done around.
It certainly is. We saw that earlier in the EU race, that it was very, very much a very difficult race to actually get through on anybody. So the start's going to be very important, and it's going to be very important to get out front early on so that you don't have to feel that pain a little bit later on. But yeah, as you say, very difficult because there's just not much space around here, really.
Yeah, there isn't a lot of space, and similarly, there aren't a lot of very heavy braking zones necessarily to go into. Your best overtaking opportunity, well, that's frankly going to be probably going down into Redgate or into the chicane of 9 and 10. You may see a little bit in the middle of the track. We've seen some drivers getting a little bit thrown off, going down into McLean's or the old hairpin, but nevertheless, it is going to be a fantastic race for us to behold here after a week off. Everything getting ready to go, and Ewan, seemed like a little bit of a processional affair in the EU race, but that doesn't mean that these American-based drivers can't throw a little bit of a change coming right at us, as indeed we are live out on the track. Drivers starting to work their way around. It is R.A.W.S that leads the way right now, that AM driver up at the front of the field.
Yeah, for the AM category, it's him leading for now. So yeah, going well at the moment. I mean, it's as I say, it was just difficult to overtake really in the EU race. It was nothing really. I guess processional might be the wrong word, but I guess it sort of is the right word at the same time. It was difficult to overtake. That's the end of it really, and that made it for a very difficult race for everybody, especially those who found themselves out of position, like we saw with Championship leader Alex Sharenga just finding himself way out of position. And he had a lot of work to do, and it was difficult to do the work in the end. So qualifying very important indeed, and not making mistakes is very important indeed as well. As I've just seen, R.A.W.S has made one of those. Unfortunately, it's allowed Sean Campbell a bit of a lead, and it's meant that R.A.W.S has dropped down to third place.
It is, and we've talked a little bit before about sometimes Harry's propensity to make a mistake or two, and that certainly looks like it's coming back to bite him here as we work our way around. I can tell you right now that it is looking like we've had a little bit of shuffling around there, as I believe Shreyas has made a little bit of a mistake as well, falling back down through the order, and now it's Sean Campbell leading ahead of Philip Ouellette.
Yeah, absolutely. That's with the story in pro anyway, the top 7 being pros at the moment. R.A.W.S actually been off again, and so has Dean Timms in a big way. Dear me, he didn't have a great time in the EU side of things. He won race 1, but didn't do very well in race 2. Ended up in the pit lane with big damage, and it's a familiar mistake. Just going slightly too wide out of McLean's there and getting into the grass, getting a whole front end ripped off of that car. So unfortunate for Dean Timms, but Sean Campbell has had a very nice start here, and it's not too surprising really to see him taking charge of this race, as he has done on 4 of the first races, the 5 first races we've had so far this season. We've had obviously 5 events and 5 race 1s, and he's won 4 of them. It looks like he's going to do that again, quite possibly.
Yeah, certainly looking like he's on it. We focus here on Drew Neubauer as he works his way around down onto the start-finish straightaway right now. He currently rides down in that last position in class, but he'll have plenty of time to try to sort his way out a little bit to see if he's going to be able to move his way forward. Justin Delano, though, currently leading in that AM category, courtesy of the mistake from Shreyas that we saw a little bit earlier on.
Absolutely, it's very close in AM, and this is the kind of story of this championship. Certainly few less cars on the grid than we saw in the EU, and a lot of them are in the AM category. So it's very much the story of the race, if you like, and the standings as well. I'm sure we'll get a look at maybe after this race or before the next one to kind of look for it properly. But we're really starting to get a nice championship fight at the moment between everybody in AM. Justin Delano and Braden Melling are the closest at the moment, only 19 points apart, and that's not very much when you consider the way the points work. So Delano is maybe going to put a few more into Melling here, but the AM category is really where the action is, and that's where most of the cars are, most of the battles are as well, with this battle for the lead we can see right now.
Yes, indeed. As we also check here on a new name into the series, Mateus Moto Moraes, working his way around up in the pro category, currently rides in third. He's about a second up the road from R.A.W.S, and you can see there in the back, R.A.W.S under a massive attack from R.A.W.S right now. Wills looking to be able to regain from that little bit of an error that we saw him have earlier on. He is certainly going to be trying to, as we said, regain that position, be able to move his way back up forward, try to gain in a little bit more if he can, as there they go on out of Roberts on to the Wheatcroft straight right now. That's going to be Harry down to the inside, later onto the binders, and he is going to get his way by R.A.W.S. So that is one more car that he doesn't have to worry about here for the British driver.
Yeah, a nice move, and yeah, just nice progress being made, really. This is a problem, though, with Harry Wills. We've seen it time and time again. We saw it in the EU. He just can't stay consistent enough to really get the good results, especially in the EU. In the US series, he's been having a bit of a better time of things. However, just a few mistakes here and there is setting him back in some of these races, and it's allowing Sean Campbell to get away a little bit here in a series that he really needs to be catching Sean Campbell and taking points off him. As we see Mateus Moto Moraes off the road. I think it might have been at the top of the hill at Coppis there. Oh no, it was, sorry, McLean's just before. So Moraes, for whatever reason, just ending up off the road. We're about to find out what the reason is. That's very similar to what Dean Timms managed to do earlier on. It's an easy mistake to make.
Very easy mistake to make, but a little bit more damage they would appear on the front of Moraes' car, and he's got a little bit that he has to deal with. We check here on Michael Fowler, who has a similar incident, somehow able to catch that Audi for the Twisted Racing team and get that car pointed the right way. He is a very, very lucky boy as he got ready. There they go, and now Fowler trying to regain, get everything up, back up underneath him there as he pulls his way back onto the straightaway. There he is. As we're taking another look at the replay here just to see exactly what went wrong, carrying, oh, that grass around here, Ewan, it will bite you.
Yeah, it certainly did. This is a separate incident, of course, to the one we saw at turn one. It's a couple in one lap, I'm afraid. So, yeah, it's really deadly. Normally, actually, when you get on the outside like that, and when you get onto the grass, it's normally that the grass kind of pulls you off and pulls you into the gravel on the outside. Almost what happened there to Jeff Carollo, actually. Just pulling you out off the road, just going straight on. You've got no turning there. However, on that occasion, it kind of pulled him around into a spin, which is a bit rarer, actually, especially at the top of the hill there at Coppis. So, yeah, somewhat surprising, but also, yeah, as you mentioned, there's no room for error around here, and the grass that lines this circuit really does punish you as well if you do indeed make any mistake at all. So it's one of those that you do really have to be careful of, as we just take a quick look at the standings coming into today.
Yes, indeed. It is Sean Campbell leading the way there over Harry Wills. A pretty big gap starting to develop. Jonathan Roulette holding on to third place over Dave Menino. Close battle there, though, between Menino and Timms. Chase Wilson also starting to close up there behind, but the real battle looks like it's shaping up for about seventh place between R.A.W.S, Tenorio, Urexoy, and on down. As we jump over to the GTAM standings there, it does look a little bit closer. As you were saying earlier, the battle between Delano and Mainling there, really, really close stuff. Only about 19 points separating them. Fowler also looking to get involved in that as well. Only about 7 points off. Shreyas looking to be able to move his way up the order. He has been the hot shoe here as of late, so that is a driver to keep an eye on, in a very close battle for fifth between Metzger, Carollo, and Plaisance as well. Heb and Kulaga look like they are tied down there for eighth. But as we keep our eyes focused on track, there is Jeff Carollo, who we were mentioning, running around in that Lamborghini. Had a little bit of a run off wide. He was able to gather everything back up under him, thankfully. Close little battle here up at the front. Justin Delano still barely managing to hold on over Shreyas.
Yeah, he is holding on, but then again, Shreyas Venkatarajan is not really giving him a go here. He's not really tried to overtake. He's got a chance now because Delano went wide at the old hairpin, although there's no real way through there up the inside, especially when Delano is just covering the optimal line. And so maybe another run up the hill there. He probably could have gone for it there, but decided to hang back and go for it on the next straight as Plaisance gets himself back going again. Yeah, did he get that run that was needed there? Venkatarajan. He might have done, he has done, down the inside, alongside, and Delano realises there's no real point in going side by side through this final chicane because he can try and get the better run out and come back at him into turn 1.
Here comes Delano, tucking behind in that draft. Little bit of a defensive move there, coming back onto the racing line for R.A.W.S. And that is almost going to be contact there between the Porsche and the Mercedes. But everything able to be caught up underneath it and keep on going. Delano just following hot behind in the heels here of that Mercedes. Remember, this is the sprint race out on track. 25 minutes that these drivers have to do. We'll get to the longer race here in a little bit of time, and that'll have some pit strategy involved in this. But right now, if you're going to make up a position, you have got to be able to make it up on track. And right now, that is exactly what R.A.W.S. has been able to do.
And this is why Venkatarajan is really one to watch in terms of the championship. I know he's not had a great first half to the season. He's got the drop round is 0 points for him, I'm afraid, so he's got no safety net to fall back on. However, he has been having some great races of late. He won race 1 at Brands Hatch. He's won the second race at both Watkins Glen and Imola. So on the last 3 events, he's won 1 race. And it looks like he might be able to grab another one here as Daniel Fleuret has gone off at McLean's, which is becoming quite a popular place to go off. So despite the fact that Venkatarajan is 4th place in this standings at the moment and quite a few points adrift, I do actually fancy him to really have a tip at this one because he is putting in some good performances. At the moment, about 45 points back, but he really could give it a good go in this championship if he strings a good second half of the season together. And given his form right now and the way that's going, he might well be able to do that.
Might well be able to do that as well. We ride on board with Delano here as he works his way out of McLean's down into Coppice right now, getting onto Starkey Straight, trying to see if he's able to just carry a little bit more momentum there around, frankly, what is that double apex right-hander, as there you see R.A.W.S. doing a little bit of weaving, trying to break the draft. Now, the straightaways here aren't normally as long as you'd see on a circuit such as Monza or some of the more modern circuits that we will be visiting, but R.A.W.S. still a little bit wary of the draft there, it has to say, with as much as he's moving. We check around in the field here. This is Fabian Ponce right now. Now, he is trying to gain up on Travis Kepler, and he's got to watch out because James Hebb is right behind him.
Yeah, I just wonder if there was an offer one of these in the last... it doesn't look like it. These guys have been going pretty well for the last few moments. This battle over 7th. We do tend to see this. The trains do form around here because it's difficult to overtake. And I have a feeling we're going to see a similar thing develop in race 2, the way this is looking at the moment. Judging off the EU race, it does look like particularly race 2 is going to be a real struggle for a lot of these drivers to actually get anywhere. Yeah, we'll see about that. But James Hebb, just got a seat in the house at the moment to try and watch on and take opportunities where he can. He was strong through that corner there. Oh, he really could have gone to the inside and got that line into Coppice, which does often yield you a place. So he maybe should have gone for it, but he decided to stay behind, and Fabian Ponce is going to breathe a bit of a sigh of relief because his mistake went unpunished in the end.
Yes, it did, and I love that camera. Oh, there we see Daniel Fleuret in the lone McLaren in the field, having a little bit of it off there. It looks like Jeff Carollo's been able to get around Casey Metzger, but we are going to go back and check it out. Just too much speed there. Ewan coming down into the corner, and that is, it is a repeating trend here, unfortunately. You have really, really got to tiptoe around some of these corners. If you try to bring too much speed in there, that's going to be a big hit for Fleuret.
It unfortunately is, and that might be the end of his race. It is. He goes back to the pit lane at least, but I don't think he will re-emerge. Fleuret will have to take advantage maybe of the reverse grid in a few moments' time, but yeah, you do really get punished for your mistakes around here, and we've just seen 2 examples in quick succession. Very unfortunate indeed for Fleuret, who's going to have to go back and regroup and think about how he's going to tackle race 2 now.
He's going to have to do that. Meanwhile, we keep our eyes fixed on this battle between Kepler, Ponce, and Hebb as they fly down Starkey Straight into Roberts right now, trying to see if there's going to be a little bit of room for any of them to be able to get a move done. Doesn't quite look like it right now. Mercedes leading BMW, leading Lamborghini as they run. No looks down into the corner, trying to figure things out here as they work their way through Redgate, and so much of overtaking on this lap is, Kai DL for the second time in 2 laps is having an off there in the number 44 Mercedes, the ERS by Skyline Designs car. It looks like that's going to be day done and dusted there for DL. He is going to take a tow about halfway through this first race.
Yeah. He has completed half the laps that will be completed. It's going to be a 24-lap race, probably, here. He has completed at least 12, so he'll be okay with regards to that. Dean Timms needs to do a few more, and Daniel Fleury has done exactly 12, so he's going to benefit from the reverse grid as well. Dean Timms needs to do a few more, and Drew Nubar also needs to get out the pit lane fairly sharpish because he wants to complete the amount of laps needed to benefit from the reverse grid and, of course, score points from that first race, or from this first race, I should say. So there's a few people that get in a bit of a race against time down in the pit lane at the moment. But of course, you've got to remember there's no faster pairs in this series. It's not like you can make a mistake and just kind of bump off the walls and carry on anymore after a quick trip down pit lane. It's you know, there's no get out clause here.
No, there is not, as we've got a nice little battle starting to shape itself up here back in that AM category. This is John Casey looking like he's going to send a little bit of a move on his fellow Ferrari driver of Andrew Hewitt. Going to look to the outside there of Redgate. Is he going to be brave enough to send it all the way around the outside? And that's going to be Hewitt trying to force him a little bit wide, but it's not going to play out there. John Casey in the number 78 with a good move. One of the few overtakes that we've been able to see take place there into Redgate. Really heads up and really brave stuff there for Casey.
Yeah, somewhat surprisingly, Turn 1 hasn't been used that much as an overtaking opportunity, but we have seen it there, so fair play for that one. Oh dear, we might be able to see it again here, actually, into Turn 1, because Travis Kepler has made a bit of a mistake there, and Fabian Ponce is going to get the best opportunity he'll ever have to go down the inside into Turn 1, but it's not going to work out. You can see even then, when there's a mistake made, it's still difficult to go down the inside towards Turn 1. You can use it to make a move down here, but then things do get very difficult down the Craner curves and into the old hairpin. As we're seeing, it's so difficult, and we saw the Lamborghini of James Head there very nearly getting into the back of Fabian Ponce.
Yeah, very nearly getting into the back of him, and good car control there from the Lamborghini driver to be able to pull that together and make everything okay. It does look like in the back there that we've seen an off for Matthew Plaisance there. He is going down under Starkey's bridge, off and through the grass. He's going to gather everything back up under him. He'll be in 10th place in that AM category. Looking around here a little bit more, maybe a battle starting to shape itself up between Eric Blumenkrantz and Jeff Carollo. Casey Metzger also trailing in behind them, so a little bit of a three-way battle here starting to develop with about 7 minutes left to go in race 1.
And notice that Eric Blumenkrantz was tuned into the EU broadcast earlier on here this evening, and he was having a quick look and taking a few notes, no doubt, mental ones about what to do and what not to do throughout this race. We did actually see, interestingly, we'll get into this a bit more as we go into race 2, but we did see quite a lot of early stops in race 2 to try and get out of the traffic just a little bit, but in the end they didn't work out too well, and actually staying out as long as possible worked pretty well for Stuart Reynolds. It ended up getting him a podium in that one, so we'll have no doubt learnt from that, as opposed to some of the others who won't have seen that race and maybe won't have learnt those things just yet. As James Hebbert just went off through the old hairpin. He looked like that spin was going on for quite a long time actually, fortunately still going in the right direction, but just a quick trip off to the side of the road.
Just a quick trip there, but he's able to gain everything back up under him as, Matthew Plaisance having another problem there. The Ferrari driver just can't keep those 4 tires onto the black stuff, as there is Fabian Ponce having it off, and he had just been able to get by Travis Kepler up ahead of him, sadly, and now the BMW driver throws it all away. But we've got to keep our eyes here focused on this battle between Blumenkrantz, Carollo, and Metzger, as this is the closest battle we have on track, and indeed a 3-way battle here. All of these drivers, it should be noted, down from their initial starting positions right now, so not having the best day. Ooh, a little bit of a run through the grass there, though, for the Lamborghini of Carollo, and he is going to sweep on through.
Yeah, nice move. This has been quite a popular overtaking zone, actually, into McLean's there, which is somewhat surprising, really. However, when you see a mistake like that through the old hairpin, the opportunity is kind of staring you in the face, and there's no way you can't take it. So Jeff Carollo just Almost had to just keep going the way he was, and he was going to get that place. Braden Merling has made a bit of a mistake there as well, by the way, and so that battle now is all over third place, and Merling needs to hang on to those places as best he can.
Yes, he does, as this is up at the front of the field there with R.A.W.S holding on right now, and it does look like that he has got a little bit of an attack there from Justin Delano. Remember, Delano was passed a little bit earlier by R.A.W.S, and look at that lap comparison time. It's slowly but surely coming down over the last couple of laps, and a big mistake there on that last one from R.A.W.S, and that really brought him into the clutches of Justin Delano. Now, we're going to have to see if that Porsche is going to be able to execute here. That Porsche does have a little bit of a tendency to wear out its rear tires in particular, but we will have to see how it plays. Waiting here as we check back in. Oh, James Hebb has had a big off there in the number 77 Rhino Motorsports machine.
Yeah, I'm afraid he has. He's taken a long time to get back on, but luckily he's got a long time behind him to get back on. But Braden Merling hasn't got very much gap behind him at the moment, because there's 3 cars who really would like to take that podium place off of him at the moment, and it's going to be difficult for them to do it, of course, but Merling is going to try and hang on as best he can right now. I mean, it's just a small mistake from him, dropped him a couple of seconds a lap ago. Now he's going to have a very difficult end to this race.
Yes, indeed he is. As we check back in on the battle there for the lead of the AM category, Justin Delano slowly but surely closing in a little bit on the back here of R.A.W.S, trying to see if he's able to get anything. Again, about a half a tenth taken out on that last lap. That wider line there for Justin seems like it's working quite well for the Porsche driver, just trying to see what he can do. R.A.W.S being a little bit cagey in the way that he is moving on and off of the racing line there, just trying to break that draft as much as possible. Kicking up a little bit of dust there on the exit of the Roberts chicane as they get onto the loud pedal, plowing their way into Redgate.
Yeah, oh, here we go. Jeff Carollo also, the battle behind happening. Braden Merling gives so much room, too much room, and the line is compromised. We're about to see 4 wide. Oh my goodness, it's so close, but Casey Metzger with a pass on the grass there to go through, and he's overtaken 3 cars in one go.
I don't have words for that, Ewan. That was positively spectacular there from Casey Metzger. Let's take another look at this. 4 wide on the Wheatcroft Straight here at Donington. Did you ever think you would see that in sim or real life? My goodness gracious.
And I don't really know how Casey Metzger made that work in the end, because he had half his car off the road while doing it, but he managed to get 3 cars in one go. Jeff Carollo gives him a pretty hard time through turn 1 as well. You can see him bumping him through the whole way through the corner. But it does look like, despite the fact he started all that at the back of the group, it looks like he's got the pace to be at the front here, because he's pulling away from Carollo and Blumenkrantz and Merling at the moment as well, who it's really bad news for. Braden Merling has dropped a lot of points in that 2 corners that all that happened, but it's not over yet in the battle for third.
No, it's not, as here comes that Lamborghini of Carollo looking to the outside of Redgate. He's going to try to be a little bit later on the binders, but the Mercedes is going to be able to pull ahead. Looking for a little bit of a crossover there is Carollo, but it's not going to play out for him as they work their way through Hollywood right now. And it does look like that Metzger's going to be able to hold on to that position for the moment. And with only about 2.5 minutes left to go here in this race, it certainly does look like Carollo's chances are running out. But we have seen plenty of speed out of that Lamborghini, particularly down the straightaways.
Yeah, we've seen speed out of it in all sorts of areas, really. Had a great run out in the EU as Braden Merling gets down the inside of Blumenkrantz, and he ends up off the road, does Eric Blumenkrantz there. Braden Merling does also. The 2 of those definitely came into contact there, because they both lost 2 places to Travis Kepler and Fabian Ponce.
Oh, it all going to naught there in the mid-pack of the AM category. By the way, up in Pro, everybody is very separated out, so we are not really missing all that much. Justin Delano, though, does look like he's had a little bit of a rough couple of lapses. There goes James Hebb off again in the Lamborghini, getting caught out with only about 40 seconds left to go here in this race. My goodness, this Donington Park circuit just absolutely catching everybody out. Here is Sean Campbell working making his way through the field with a gap of 12 seconds behind him to Jonathan Ouellette. I do believe this will be the last lap here for Campbell as Matthew Plaisance in the Ferrari has had a little bit of a spin around. That's not going to be good there for him, but we got to keep our eyes here on Sean Campbell. Gets his way on through, works his way around, trying to see what he is going to be able to do. White flag is indeed waving from Barney the Flagman. A little bit of a wiggle there out of that Lamborghini as he works his way down into the double apexer there of Coppice, bringing himself onto Starkey Straight right now. A fantastic dominant victory here for Sean Campbell, who was able to move his way up through the field quite a bit. There he runs over the curbs, comes out of the final corner, and yet another victory for Sean Campbell.
Yeah, another great win. Not really pushed in that one too much. He's managed to win 4 race 1s so far this season. We can make that 5 now out of the 6 race 1s we've had so far. And it's been fantastic so far from Sean Campbell. He's also won now the last 5 in a row here for Campbell. Looking to make that 6 possibly here for race 2 as Matheus Moreira gets himself back onto the road the unconventional way. We go back to the AM leaders now.
Yes, we do. Shreyas Venkataranju going to get his way out of the Robert chicane, brings it onto the main straightaway, and he will take victory over Justin Delano there by the gap of mere 0.8 of a second. Casey Metzger trying to hold in behind to the best of his ability. Jeff Carollo looked like he put up a little bit of a response there, but it's not going to play out too much there for him. About 0.8 of a second in between those two as they bring their way through that final chicane and on to the start-finish straightaway. That was Carollo going a little bit wide, but it's going to be Metzger holding on to the podium with Carollo there behind.
And not too much to choose between them in the end, but Metzger really sealed that one with that really nice move out the final chicane onto the front straight. It was absolutely spectacular, and in the end it earned him that place. Here it is. Here's another look at it. I mean, one of the moves of the season. Will do well to top that, really.
Indeed, one of the moves of the season, one of the moves of the year, and you can see just how close that BMW and that Lamborghini got to one another, and the same can be true there for the Mercedes there on the outside. Some great heads-up driving there from all 4 to avoid major contact there in between the two. And that was fast, furious, and fantastic. And guess what? We get to line up here for another race. This one just a little bit longer. But before we get to that, let's run you through the final finishing order here. It was Sean Campbell, again, able to take victory as we ran through Jonathan Ouellette and Harry Wills with a good recovery. Round out your podium. R.A.W.S, Matheus Moreira there in P5. Dean Timms and Kai DL round out your pro field. And what about the amateurs there?
Yeah, let's have a look at the AM drivers. Shreyas Venkataranju it was who took the victory in the end. It was not a big margin ahead of Justin Delano. Casey Metzger was just in that 3rd place, just to beat Jeff Carollo to the line. Travis Kepler and Fabian Potts were battling to the line also. They finished 5th and 6th. Braden Melling drops to 7th in that one and drops valuable points to Delano. Eric Blumenkrantz with that late run off the road, 8th, ahead of James Hebb and John Casey, round out the top 10. Andrew Hewitt, 11th, ahead of Matthew Plaisance, who had a fair few spins throughout that one. So did Michael Fowler. Daniel Florea ended up in the wall as well in his McLaren, and Drew Neubauer wasn't able to get out in time to be able to complete half distance, so he certainly won't score any points from that 15th place there. I'm not sure if he's even going to be able to benefit from the reverse grid either, because after all he only completed 6 laps in that one, and sometimes those who don't complete 50% and don't score don't actually benefit from the reverse grid, so we'll see about that one. But yeah, the second race will be coming up soon, and Nobel will be hoping he'll be starting on the front for it.
He will be hoping indeed, and we won't have long to wait to find out until what that order will be. We are going to take a quick step away here for the moment, but when we come back, we are going to be back for the second round here tonight, the full-length feature race, 50 minutes around Donington Park. But do not go anywhere. We will be back for that shortly. Welcome back to Donington Park. My name is DJ Clark, joined here in the commentary booth by Ewan O'Leary with our director and producer, David Christie, behind the scenes. And Ewan, in that first race, we saw some fast and frenetic action really getting thrown around. This time, we double the race distance. Do you think that's going to calm things down a little bit, or are we going to see much of the same?
Well, I'm not entirely sure if we judge things off the EU race, though, as we so often do here at the US version. I mean, it will seem to tempt things back just a little bit based on what we saw earlier on, where there was a lot of difficulty in overtaking and not too much in terms of positional changes actually happening during the second race. However, you never know, really, in this US version. We just have to wait and see what's going to happen here over the next 50 minutes of racing.
Yes, we will, as we take a look at those updated GT3 Pro standings. Sean Campbell extending his lead over Henry Wills. Jonathan Willett there in third, as well as Dean Timms. Dave Menino in fifth, tied now with R.A.W.S. Chase Wilson looking onto the inside there, and Jeremy R.A.W.S, Daniel Tenorio, and Kyle Boss rounding out your top 10 there. A very close battle back in the latter stages. We take a look here at the GT3 AM standings. Continues to be Delano up on top by roundabouts 30 points. Brandon Malang working his way up forward. Michael Fowler holding steady there at 296, but Shreya Speckanaranju working his way forward, really and truly continuing to put down those good results. Casey Metzger going to be hoping to extend a little bit of a gap over Jeff Carollo. Matthew Plaisance there back in 7th place. James Hebb, Daniel Floria, and Fabian Ponce rounding out your top 10. And so definitely some championship implications on the line here today, but I think we're going to see something a little bit more interesting here around Donington. You know, we talked a little bit in that first race just how difficult it can be to pass here. Some drivers proving us wrong, looking at that four-wide situation coming down the Reetquoff straightaway. But with the inverted grid here, that's certainly going to shake things up, as it always does in this second race.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, the numbers in the Pro category means that it might not actually shake it up as much as we're maybe hoping for here today. However, yeah, certainly in the AM category, it's going to change things, change a lot of things. It's just a case of getting through, really, for those guys at the back, like Delano and Victoraju as well, who fought it out for that race win that we saw in race 1. It's going to be difficult for them to make their way through the order, of course, fight their way through, but that's what they're there for. I mean, they've got to just try and do what they can in the opening lap, particularly, much like what we see Sean Campbell do in the Pro category. Get through as many as you can on lap 1 and then try and pick them off one by one after that, because it is going to be really difficult to get through on these cars one by one. You are going to need a great first lap here.
Yeah, you're going to need a very, very good first lap, and you're going to need a lot of patience around here at 50 minutes to be able to go and get everything nice and easy. Now, the other thing to keep in mind, you mentioned it earlier, Ewan, in the Euro race, we did see some drivers come into the pits a little bit early to try to get out of traffic. That didn't exactly work for them, so we're going to have to see how pit strategy plays itself out here today. But as the clock clicks right on to 10 minutes, that is our allotted time here for warm-up out at Donington Park. The checkered flag flies, and we get ourselves ready to go racing here for race 2 in the World Series League's GT3 series. Lining up on the grid, it is going to be a very, very interesting way to see how they go. And in pole position, it's going to be Dean Timms, followed by Matthew Moraes there. R.A.W.S, Harry Wills in row 2. Jonathan Willett and Sean Campbell make up row 3, with Taylor Lane and Gary Brown rounding out your pros. What about the AMs, Ewan?
In AM, it's going to be Daniel Florea, who had that incident in the McLaren starting on the front ahead of Michael Fowler in second place. Matthew Plaisance and Andrew Hewitt will be on row 2 together. John Casey rounding out the top 5. James Hebb will be 6th ahead of Eric Blumenkrantz. Braden Melling will need a good result there, starting from 8th. Fabian Ponce and Jeff Carollo round out the top 10, with Casey Metzger 11th. Justin Delano, championship leader, 12th ahead of race 1 winner Shares Venkatarasu. Travis Kepler 14th for some reason, I don't know why. And Drew Neubauer, we suspected he wouldn't get shunted to the front of the field because he didn't complete enough laps. That's exactly what happened, although I don't know why Travis Kepler's been sent to the back. He must have done something.
I'm not sure there as well, but as you can see, a short pace lap around here, starting just on the outside there of Coppice, which means we are going to be underway before you can so much as blink an eye, pretty much. Drivers working their way out of the double apex right-hander right now, getting themselves lined up. One of the BMW drivers having a little excursion there out onto the grass. I believe that was R.A.W.S there, just trying to get lined up behind. Looks like Sean Campbell in the back of the field doing a little bit of weaving, as is Taylor Lane, as everyone tries to get themselves ready to roll here. Tricky way to get onto the loud pedal is you've got to fling your way through the Robert chicane and then get going. That's certainly going to catch out some of the drivers behind, but we keep our eyes on the number 46 of Dean Timms as he brings his way through the field right now, and Dean waits for the pace car to get out of the way. There it goes, and all eyes turn to Barney the flag man as there goes the green, and we are racing here in Donington Park. Great start there from Dean Timms. He's going to pull about 2-3 car lengths ahead of Marias as they dive down into the corner, trying to see what is able to do. A little bit of too wide farther back in the field. Willett, Wills, Campbell, Brown, everyone trying to find their positions as they go. Looks like Willett up one position already, but Harry Wills under big attack there from Sean Campbell. Meanwhile, back in the AM field, it is going to be Florea that leads us to the green, and he gets on the loud pedal there. Not nearly as good of a start as we saw in the rest of the field. The Audi there of Michael Fowler trying to make things a little bit interesting, but as they dive down into the braking zone, it does look like Florea is going to be able to hold on to the lead for the moment.
Yeah, he had a nice jump there, and the top 4 able to stay single file, but it's not the case in the pros. Oh, Harry Wills on the grass, and he goes way wide. He's going to save it, but he's going to drop to last, with Taylor Lane and Gary Brown both getting through on him. It was a great battle between those two championship rivals, Campbell versus Wills, just going side by side at the top of the hill there at Coppice, but Wills just pushed the envelope too much, and he got onto the grass and he went off. Thankfully, he didn't touch anything, but he did lose out on a couple of places. There's a lot of contact back here, though. That's Braden Melling who's got around.
That's Melling, and there's a lot of drivers involved in that. I think Shreyas Fekanaranju is one of the ones that was had to really get onto the brakes to be able to avoid everything. We jump back to check out a replay here. Melling just goes into the corner, and that looks like he kind of clipped down there on that fellow BMW driver. I believe that was the 62 there of Eric Blumenkrantz, who has spun around. Some heavy contact there to Blumenkrantz as he finds his, pointed back the right way, but not without that pretty heavy damage. There's Mercedes as well. I think that was Casey Metzger that went off to the inside there, catching a big chunk of the tire barriers. Here is Jonathan Roulette, though, who has inherited second place, being able to work his way up through the field. And there is Marias with a problem.
There was a slowdown penalty down there at Coppice. It's a blind entry to that corner, of course, but if you cut it too much, then you get a pretty hefty slowdown down the back straight there. So I think that's what happened to Marias. There as Sean Campbell makes his way to the outside of R.A.W.S. It's a nice cutback there from Campbell, and he should be able to get this done down the Craner curves. He will do, by the looks of things, down on the inside line, and that is going to be a nice move in the end. So Sean Campbell through. That was very well executed in the end, actually, and a really satisfying move to watch as well as we get to the end of lap 2 for the AMCARs. The top 4 really have had things all their own way, but behind it's been an absolute mess. Braden Melling particularly going to lose out on a lot of points again, and just look at Justin Delano, his main rival, has got through with that without so much of a scratch on his car. He's gotten away with that one absolutely fantastically, and it's all falling apart a little bit for Melling.
Yes, indeed it is. We're going to take a little bit of a look here at the replay. This is Andrew Hewitt in the HRL number 7 Ferrari as he dives his way down into the Roberts curves, just misses that braking zone wholesale, and he's going to have a little bit of a trip over the gravel and the grass there, able to keep pointed the right way, but that's not going to help him. Ooh, little bit of an off there for the number 9. That was Matthew Plaisance having a little bit of a problem coming through Red Gate, but he's able to control that car, keep the ERS by Skyline Designs number 9 pointed the right way. He's going to try to be attacking here on James Hebb as they run.
Yeah, absolutely. Just trying to, just get those positions. I've got to say, I'm really impressed by Daniel Florea at the moment in this race, holding on very well in the McLaren, given what problems he had in that first race. You see just in behind there, Matthew Plaisance and James Hebb also fighting it out nicely here, and this is good to see for both of these two because of course they had pretty terrible race ones as well, but they're now having a nice clean battle at the front of the field for third place, side by side down the Craner curves. Difficult to do it here, but they've both done it cleanly enough, and at the old hairpin they've both managed to get through nice and cleanly. So yeah, there's a number of good drives up towards the front here, and they've got a real chance of holding on to these podium places because of the way the guys behind have really been slowed down by the incidents and accidents that happened over the first few laps.
Yes, indeed. And speaking of that, there's Travis Kepler, who's had a big off there in the number 89, as looks like Fabian Ponce has also had a little bit of an off as well, but we've got a little bit of side-by-side. There is Fabian Ponce, who has gone off. I was mentioning that side-by-side. That was Harry Wills getting by R.A.W.S. A good move there for Harry as he tries to recover a little bit from that early off that he had. Right up ahead of him now is his championship rival in the form of Sean Campbell.
Taylor Lane trying to get through an R.A.W.S. as well. This might be how Wills got through. Well, right around the outside of UXO there. That was a very nice bit. It was an Amcar, so off the road, out the old hairpin there. Not sure who that was, but either way, Jonathan Roulette now trying to defend from Sean Campbell. And Taylor Lane on the attack further behind as well. Driving a Lamborghini here, interestingly, as opposed to his BMW that he uses in the EU Championship. But Sean Campbell, Lamborghini in both, and doing pretty well in both at the moment. Just pulls to the outside there, tries to get through on the Mercedes of Jonathan Roulette, and that's another lovely cutback manoeuvre made by Sean Campbell down the Craner curves. He should have this one. He'll been on the outside through the left-hander here, but he should have the inside for the old hairpin, and that should give you the easy pass. It does indeed, and Sean Campbell is already up to second place in the first 6 minutes.
Absolutely brilliant stuff there from Campbell, really being able to just put that car where he wants to. The crossover move proving very effective. Whoa, as there is Marias having a little bit of a look there, going through Starkey's bridge, just chucking that car down to the inside of Gary Brown and being able to field that BMW nice and ahead. A good run there for the Brazilian driver in the number 88. He's looking particularly strong despite that little bit of an incident we saw him have earlier on. Misses the apex there a little bit going through McLean's.
Managed to get through nicely though as we go back to the AMS where, oh dear, Michael Fowler, he was having such a good race as well, but ends up in the wall. Got on the dirt, I think, on the outside there, through with the old hairpin. He did, he just went wide and he dropped it. Oh, and he gets into the wall hard, I'm afraid. Michael Fowler third in the championship still after that first race. Looking to gain back some points with the performance here, but unfortunately he has just found Donington Park way too difficult here today. And unfortunately for him, these points, all of them count at the moment because he's already scored more than his drop round. So he needs to grab everything he can from this race, even now after this mistake.
Yes, he does need to, and he's going to have to try as that car looked a little bit wounded. But R.A.W.S. right now finds himself under attack from Taylor Lane. You mentioned a little bit earlier that Lane and that Lamborghini looking particularly aggressive here. And there, as they bring their way through Coppice, that very distinctive yellow and black Lambo, trying to see if there's going to be a move here to be had on the top, up into the top 5. Big clobber. Oh, side by side now between Andrew Hewitt and that Shreyas Venkataranju as they try to be able to go in, and that's going to be Shreyas with a good move, moving his way up forward, put him into P6.
Yeah, another nice move, and he's another driver that's made real good progress. Here is, Jonathan Roulette from second place, well, at third at the time, actually, drops all the way down back to the back of the pro standings. He must have just got wider through turn 1, and this is what we were talking about earlier on You just can't make any mistakes around here. You can't run wide anywhere. And actually, it wasn't the dirt, really. It was just a spin on his own. That could have happened at any circuit, to be honest. But this circuit does take no prisoners at all. When you get onto the grass slightly around here, you are destined to go around, unfortunately. And yeah, we've seen that many, many times already, and it won't be the last time over the next 40 minutes.
No, it certainly will not, but I'll tell you what, Dean Timms has got to be looking in his rear-view mirror right now because the number 26 of Sean Campbell is threatening as we've got another off. Ooh, another simultaneous off there. That is Gary Brown and I believe Travis Kepler, who has also had an off. Both drivers finding the exit, the entrance road there, the inside of Coppice as they had a little bit of a mistake. We jump back here with Dean Timms. Sean Campbell all over the back of him as they lurk there. That fearsome Lamborghini getting ready to pounce, it has to be said. Timms has got to be starting to feel the pressure there, and indeed he does. He goes wide on the exit of the curve, going down through the old hairpin under Starkey's Bridge, and here comes Campbell on the attack.
Oh, he's not really going to be able to do much there. He had the opportunity, but didn't want to risk things. This is what Sean Campbell does, and this is what he's so good at, along with his RSR teammate Alex Urenga. They have very good opening laps. They storm through the field, and then when things calm down, when it gets to the one-on-one, they just pick them off one by one, as you're supposed to do. They're not trying to overtake them all at once. They just bide their time a little bit, use the time that is on their side, and then make their moves when they want to. Let's not forget Sean Campbell's got over 40 minutes to make this move. Everybody else already behind him, so he's just got to try and take advantage where he can, and he will do here. Outside line into turn one. It looks like a very nice and clean move right around the outside.
Yeah, kicked up a little bit of dirt there on the exit, but that is going to be moved done and dusted for the number 26 back into his familiar position. We're going to take a look on board here with Campbell. Just absolute confidence and commitment down into Redgate, able to make it work. Just enough rumble strips there to kick up some dirt, and he is going to find himself ahead. And look at that, he's already been able to pull out a gap of about 0.4 of a second over his rival, Dean Timms.
Oh, Braden Melling already a lap down in 13th place in the AM standings. This is not good news for Braden Melling at all. He's just been off again down there at McLean, so yeah, that's really not good news, I'm afraid, for him. And he's going to have to do his best to recover, as R.A.W.S is still defending from Taylor Lane there, and Sean Campbell hasn't exactly just gotten away just yet, although Dean Timms smashes the curve through the chicane there, and he's going to have to let Sean Campbell go, really. There's no way he's going to be able to keep up his pace.
Yeah, I don't think he is as well. The gap expanding upwards about 6-7 of a second. It really looks like Campbell's able to gain a lot of time there through the first corner. Matthew Plaisance, the latest driver to find that trickiness coming out of the old hairpin. He's going to get his number 9 Ferrari back on track. Also, R.A.W.S being forced into an error there by the constant pressure behind him from Taylor Lane. As Lane in the Lamborghini is now going to be able to go as Matthew Plaisance is off, as is Casey Metzger going to be able to just pick his way on by a couple of the off Ferraris there.
Well, there might be damage on Plaisant's car at the moment because he's struggling so much. He goes back to the pit lane. That's going to be it. I wonder if there's damage. I think that's it for the day, actually, for him. There must have been damage on that car because he was off everywhere. We didn't see his incident at the old hairpin there, and he might have hit the wall down there when he did go off, and that might be why he was struggling quite so much towards the end of that lap there. Let's have a look. He might get hit. Well, no, it's just on his own, but does he hit the wall? He's weaving around trying to save it. No, he doesn't. So, yeah, not entirely sure why he's struggling so much. Just trying to get back going again, first of all, because this is a wild moment. And then, once again, he's been off a couple more times before he actually retires here. So, not sure why he's struggling quite so much. Well, there's one clue, I suppose. But yeah, just frustrated with how his evening's going, I think, really.
Well, this is a track that certainly brings out the frustration, as here comes Justin Delano on Daniel Florea, trying to see if there's something to be had going down into the Roberts chicane. That McLaren's going to be able to pull away a little bit there as they flick through, but the Porsche certainly menacing in his rearview mirror is the number 38, looking for the move, looking for the attack, trying to see if there is something to be had, trying to be able to get that crossover that we saw Sean Campbell pull so many times before. Not going to play out there for him as we tick closer and closer to about 15 minutes gone in this race. The action continues to be fearsome all up and down the order. Tighter line there for Delano. He is going to try to keep as much pressure on as possible coming up through Starkey's Bridge.
He finds himself in a similar situation to what we saw with Sean Campbell in the pro category, because he's done a lot of the work in the opening couple of laps when all the chaos was happening in AM, and now he's got the opportunity and he's got the time on his side to try and pick these drivers off one by one. This McLaren is going to be especially difficult to overtake just on its own here, because it's so fast in a straight line that it's very difficult to really make any inroads on it at all. When you, especially at a circuit that's so difficult to overtake, you've got to be patient, you've got to wait for the mistake. And Justin Delano saw the mistake there, he saw the opportunity and almost got too excited, went straight into the back of the McLaren, and he's back down to fourth.
He is indeed. He's got to do it all again, and he's got to hope that there's not any front-end damage to that car that's going to upset the splitter in particular and the turn-in downforce on it. We ride on board with Delano here. You can see the flames coming off the back. That means that he was off throttle there at that point, so clearly Florea making a little bit of a mistake, and Delano just not able to really react in time to be able to get himself on by.
No, he couldn't react at all there. And he really should have been, well, it's hard to say he should have been more aware, because how was he supposed to know where the McLaren was going to end up? And you can't put too much blame on Florea there either, I don't think, because he's trying to gather up that all up. I know he was off throttle, you can see by the flames, but he's trying to gather up that spin there and try not to go for another one. And so, yeah, you can't really blame him too much either. Just very difficult to know where to put the blame there, if at all. Probably better off just saying it's a bit of a racing incident, one of these things that tends to happen. And unfortunately it did there, as R.A.W.S, my goodness, sideways completely and making a move on Dean Timms and a lap car. That was spectacular.
Yeah, it really was. Harry absolutely on a charge here, trying to push his way up through the field. Following that little bit of an incident we saw him have earlier on, Dean Timms here now going to be behind R.A.W.S, as there is Harry trying to chase down his rival in the form of Sean Campbell. There you can see as they go down the straightaway here, Harry just absolutely chucking it in.
I mean, the way he drives cars is so, I would find it so difficult. But he clearly really is at one when the car is so on edge and so difficult to drive. It looks from the outside anyway. He must be a nightmare to share a car with in an endurance race, to be honest. Because he just loves the car, so on edge and so oversteery, almost unpredictable from what it looks like on the outside. But he's clearly so effective. And once again, up into second place, as Matthias Motta-Morais just under a lot of pressure there from Jonathan Ouellette. He's going to lose the place, and oh my goodness, R.A.W.S went off the road in avoidance as well.
Yes, he did. A lot of drivers just flying off the track there. I believe Morea as well, and now that's Andrew Hewitt in the back of your screen, moving off there a little bit. He is going to find himself in some trouble. We're going to ride on board here with R.A.W.S, and I've got to say here, he may have found himself off track, but that was some darn good avoidance from R.A.W.S.
Well, he had to do it. I mean, yeah, we saw the BMW there just almost bobbling back onto the circuit, onto the racing line. Not a lot you can really do when you're trying to recover from a mistake like that. It's not a case of kind of having a poor rejoin, I don't think. It's just a case of trying to gather things up, and you're not really thinking about everyone else at that particular moment. So it's difficult for R.A.W.S to know what to do. But Daniel Florea, now you can see the damage that he picked up with that contact with Delano. We just get it, if we get a rearward shot here of the McLaren on the left hand side, there it is, crumpled. You can see a bit more of the rear left wheel than you otherwise would do. And yeah, the damage there certainly telling. There's the angle. The damage certainly telling for Daniel Florea, because he has lost 2 or 3 places since that contact.
Yes, he has, and he's going to have to try to work his way back up forward and hope that that's not going to be too damaging to the car right now. One of the closest battles, though, we have as we continue to watch Florea right now is this between Jeff Carollo and Justin Delano. Delano trying to charge his way up through the field here a little bit, trying to see what he is able to do, but not sure exactly if he's going to be able to get going here when he wants to, although he's going to have a little bit of a look there coming through Coppice.
Oh, he's just about getting the better run off of here to go for it into the chicane, or at least put them off into the chicane, so you can maybe go for it into turn 1 or set your move up down the hill at the Craner curves. He's chosen the kind of going wide at the chicane moment, but even then Carollo has got good enough exit speed, and Delano's going to have to wait here a little bit further. He's going to have to set it up down the hill if he wants to go for it at all. bit of a narrower entry line there though, and it's not going to yield the great exit that he really needed to go for it into the old hairpin, which has been quite popular in terms of making moves, but it's not going to be popular on this particular occasion. He's going to have to stay behind and just size up his opponent some more. But as we've mentioned time and time again, more than half an hour time is on Delano's side here, even with nearly 20 minutes gone in this race now.
Yeah, time's certainly on his side to be able to just try to be patient here. And that's not something we've seen a whole lot of times. He's going to have a little bit of a look there on Carollo as they run, trying to wait and see if he's got anything. Going to take a little bit of a narrower line there coming through the second part of Coppice. It doesn't quite look like that Carollo's got anything to answer, and that's going to be Delano up and on through.
Yeah, just a nice move, just a real good exit off of McLean's there. Thought about it into Coppice, but in the end didn't need to. The Porsche has such good traction, and it's so willing to stay on that narrow line on the exit there and keep the exit speed, which you don't see very many cars being able to do. I think the Porsche is the only car that could really be able to do that with any great consistency, because it is so good on the traction. It is so good at keeping a tight line through the exits of these corners and able to get down the inside there nicely with Delano, and now he can set his sights on James Hebb, who is out in the lead at the moment, as we see Michael Fowler, I think that is, emerging from the pits 10 laps down. He will once again get out there and hopefully in his case overtake Matthew Plaisance and Travis Kepler, at least pick up those extra few points and complete half distance to get those points and add those points to his tally.
Yeah, he'll be hoping for that. We watch here Braden Maling as he works his way around. He's got a little bit of action in front and behind him. There is that is Eric Blumenkrantz trying to work his way around right now. And that is Marias there. A faster car is that's Casey Metzger off track, as is Harry Wills again.
And Dean Tim's going to get straight through there, straight back into second place. And it might be a very similar situation to what we saw from Harry Wills earlier. He's slightly distracted by the car in front of me. Yeah, I think so. And oh my word, that's insane. The fact he's kept it out the wall there. Very, very impressive. However, hearing that he might have crashed again or been off again, yeah, I think he's been off again because he's back behind the car that spun. I think this was on the entry to the chicane. I did get a glimpse of this before we went to replay. He got the grass on the way in, and oh, this is going to be uncomfortable. And yeah, it was, unfortunately, so Will's losing out on about 5 more seconds there.
Yeah, he does, and so he's going to find himself really, really hurting here. He's about 6 seconds back from Dean Timms right now, and that is not where Harry wants to be at this moment. Running around in third, so a podium position, but he is going to be losing valuable points here to Sean Campbell as Wills goes wide again there on the exit of the corner. He is just struggling at all points of this track. That was up through McLean's. Now he's going to come through Coppice. Looks like he's going to be a little bit more lined up. That is going to be a lapped car directly up ahead of him, as it does look like that he has at least got it together here for now. Very late onto the binders there through Roberts.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out. I think that is Casey Metzger just up in front, actually. The two in very similar liveries. Not sure whether they're part of the same team or not, but yeah, it's Casey Metzger just up in front of Wills at the moment, but might be looking behind him and over his shoulder a bit more than in front, actually, right now, because Taylor Lane and Jonathan Roulette are not too far back. You might be able to see the yellow and black Lamborghini in the background with a Mercedes just trailing it just in the background. So yeah, that is kind of approaching on Harry Wills at the moment. He might be a little bit worried about that over the next few laps as the battles in the mid-pack in AM also continue.
Yes, they do, as we check here on Fabian Ponce, trying to work his way by Drew Neubauer, trying to see if there's anything to be had. Another little battle here going on. Jonathan Roulette fighting himself under pressure from the hard-charging Taylor Lane. Lane up 2 positions on the day as they bring their way up the hill through Coppice right now. It looks like Lane drops back a little bit, not quite able to get the speed that he would like to through there, and that's going to give a little bit of breathing room here to Jonathan Roulette. He's going to be able to breathe just a little bit easier, not going to have to charge nearly as hard and put defense up behind him.
Doesn't look like it, but yeah, that was it. I think on that lap actually getting through on Taylor Lane there. Was able to get up into 4th place, but the two are so evenly matched they could end up fighting the rest of the race, as Venkatarazu manages to get through on Delano and get through on Carollo and try and chase down Delano once again here, making his way through at Coppice. Will Carollo just let him have that one though. Will he come back at him? I think he's signalling here that he actually wants to get on with it and not really fight over this one at the moment. So didn't chase the slipstream, didn't dive into the final chicane. And so the two are going to get on with it, but everybody's catching James Hebb at the moment. This is how he did it. It was a nice move into McLean's. Very nice dive, actually.
Yeah, very nice dive indeed. Just able to send it down there into McLean's. Oh, Fabian Ponce has had a big off there, collecting into the barrier. Some heavy, heavy damage to the front end of that BMW. Let's watch this again. Gets up onto the grass, tries to catch the car, and a big ka-thunk there. I'm amazed, frankly, he didn't lose the hood. And I can tell you, as we get closer and closer to the halfway point in this race, we've got pit stops starting to fire off. Harry Wills, the first down pit lane.
We do indeed. It's an early stop for Harry Wills, and I do like this idea. I don't think it's a bad call at all. Fabian Potts also will come into the pit lane to just try and throw off this strategy just that little bit, and I really do like the call from the both of them to just try something a little bit different here in this race, especially in the case of Harry Wills, who could well end up with second place here by the end of today. It's a 15-second pit stop, so slightly longer than you might want otherwise, but when you're pitting this early, that's the kind of risk you have to take. You do have to take a bit more fuel because you're not entirely sure where the lie of the land is going to be in about 10 minutes time when everybody else is making their pit stop. So likely he will lose 1 or 2 seconds in terms of the pit stop time there, but he'll be hoping that he can gain that back and take a bit more due to the undercut.
That's exactly what he is going to be hoping for there, as you saw Gary Brown having a little bit of a run around there. Jeff Carollo with some pretty heavy damage to the front of that Lamborghini. Let's see what happened here. Clobbered the curb again. Touched the grass there on the outside, just a little bit too much power, and oh, that was a crunching hit, and that was your leader there. That was Sean Campbell that he had to work around.
Pretty sure it was Sean Campbell, was it? Yeah, it was. Sean Campbell, who just had to duck around here. This is going to be a live flash before your eyes moment here for Sean Campbell. On board with him now into the chicane. Let's have a little look. It's over the crest and the rise here as well. And, oh dear me. Well, Carollo's got to stay a little bit more aware of his surroundings there. You can't just roll back onto the racing line without having a look, especially not at that angle. And, yeah, Sean Campbell did well to avoid, really. Especially when you're going over the crest of the hill. I understand, obviously, you're just kind of rolling forward. He's not actually on the throttle there and accelerating towards the racing line. He's just kind of rolling there because of the way the crash was. However, you do have to hit the brakes there and be a bit more aware, a bit more predictable. Thankfully, Campbell had his head screwed on and was able to avoid.
Yes, he was. More drivers coming down pit lane here. Looks like Dean Timms, James Hebb has come down, Jeff Carollo coming down as well. So plenty of drivers opting to make this the point where they come down pit lane, as looks like we're going to focus here on your leader, Sean Campbell, out on track. He looks like he is going to try to wait a little bit longer for that battle in the Ams, though. R.A.W.S, they are able to get by, trying to think about maybe coming down pit lane. No, but that's going to be Gary Brown who opts to come down.
It was actually an overtake 4 position, that one, actually, I'm pretty sure. However, it doesn't matter because Venkatarajan, of course, is an AM. Gary Brown, a pro. Daniel Florea also in. So this is a bit more in terms of the early stops. This is a bit more than what we saw in the EU. So I'm a bit surprised about that. Obviously, not everyone will have had time to even take in even a look at the EU broadcast because people have got other things to do, of course. But they won't have been able to learn from that. However, it certainly wasn't the advantageous thing to do a few hours ago, although some of these guys in here might be able to make it work. So who knows, really? You don't know if you don't try. And so I'm glad to see a few people just trying the alternate strategy here, although we still are waiting for a good portion of the field to come in, more than half, certainly.
Yes, we are, and still a couple of good battles out on track as they rage. R.A.W.S and Marias, they are trying to see if there's anything to be had right now. Marias trying to gain up. He's sort of yo-yoed up and down through the field here at this point. Currently down 3 positions, but certainly trying to make that only down 2 as he puts a lot of pressure onto the back of R.A.W.S, trying to see what he's going to be able to gain. Is he going to be able to get anything here as they work their way through Coppice? It doesn't necessarily look like it. I think he's going to have to hold back for the moment.
Yeah, it's probably the smart idea, unless you're alongside going up towards Coppice there. It's not a great idea to have a dive at that difficult corner anyway. Just wait for that moment, especially when the pit stops are approaching like this. Might as well wait just a little bit further. Neither of them ducking in this time. It might be the chance for Moraes to have this time into turn 1. I think R.A.W.S realises that as well, just half defending, but then going to the racing line. And maybe that was his mistake, because Moraes makes a beautiful dive. He parks it on the apex to make sure that R.A.W.S can't come back at him.
Oh, that was pretty fantastic there to be able to see him do that. Absolutely stellar attack and defense from R.A.W.S there. Really good stuff to be able to see him get forward. Now the question is going to be is if he's going to be able to hold on to this position, and it does look like that area R.A.W.S is falling back ever so slightly, so that's not exactly what he wants to see here at this moment.
Yeah, not really. We go up to Gary Brown here getting overtaken. I think that might be for position as well. With Braden Melling. Oh, Drew Neubauer and Michael Fowler again, I think, getting involved. Who else was involved in that one? Well, Neubauer's gone back to the pit lane after all of this. Yeah, I think Michael Fowler might have been one of the cars who got involved again there in more contact. Unfortunately, just trying to mind his own business a few laps down and pick up some points. Really not having a great day. And Melling has made good progress, though, although he hasn't stopped yet, I don't think, has he? No, he hasn't stopped, and he's behind net race leader James Hebb. That just shows how far Melling has dropped back in this race.
Yeah, he really and truly has. Melling just not having the result that he would like to. Here's Harry Wills. Remember, he has already pitted, currently out in 7th place right now as he tries to go. That's not where he wants to be. Well,
19 incident points. The reason this is significant, DJ, is because there's 25 incident points before you get a drive-through in this race. It's 17 for race 1 because it's a bit shorter, but 25 incident points in this race, and the fact he's only got 6 remaining over the next 20 minutes, more than 20 minutes, is a bit of a worry given how much we've seen cars dipping wheels off the grass here and there, just because of the way this circuit is, like that, for example. If that happens too often for Harry Wills, then he's going to have to take a drive-through.
Yeah, I think you're right. Whoa, Daniel Florea getting a little bit cockeyed there. That McLaren looking very, very squirrely. And remember, we already talked about the damage there in that McLaren. Let's watch on board. Ooh, that was just a big old snap of oversteer.
Oh, dear. That rejoin as well was very scary. I think it was Harry Wills who went through on him. But, yeah, particularly scary. It was a classic McLaren twitch, actually. That couldn't have happened in any other car. If they'd taken out the dashboard and whatever, then I still would have known that was a McLaren, because it was such a McLaren thing to do there, going down towards McLaren's. And that's exactly why, summed up in a few seconds there, summed up why most of these drivers haven't decided to take it on, because it is so tricky and so twitchy at the rear end from time to time. But Daniel Florea seems to be making it work for the moment, as Justin Delano is kind of playing a bit of a waiting game right now to see when he's going to come into the pit lane. I have to say, though, James Hebb came in from the lead earlier. His pit stop was a bit long, so I am expecting him to lose the lead in the pit lane, unfortunately. We're not going to quite get that battle on circuit that we were maybe hoping for.
Yeah, it doesn't quite look like we're going to see it there as Casey Metzger awkwardly trying to come into the pit box. I think he's got an early pit stall there, and is he actually able to get service from that angle? I'm not entirely sure.
No, I'm not convinced. You'd be unimpressed with someone doing that in a shopping car park, but I think he might still get service anyway. But it's not conventional, though. Certainly not. But either way, let's hope he gets service anyway. Sean Campbell has yet to do that himself, and he will do right now. Nearly 32 minutes in the race. He shouldn't be quite at his limit just yet in terms of fuel, but deciding that now is the time anyway. It just looked like Casey Metzger did get service remarkably from that 45-degree angle.
I'm color me surprised. I did not expect that to actually be able to happen there, but Metzger indeed was able to get service back on his way, as there you can see Sean Campbell, your leader, coming down pit lane right now. He has got his service. Fuel only here for these drivers. We do not anticipate any tires, as that is going to give the lull of the field over to Jonathan Ouellette right now. Ouellette, who has yet to take his pit stop, as has Taylor Lane, also Justin Jelano, Shreyas, and looks like Braden Maling, the only other drivers that have still yet to come down pit lane.
Yeah, there's not many left now, and they won't be able to go too much further either in terms of this pit lane now. Sean Campbell's pit stop there, incidentally, was shorter than a lot of the drivers around him. Let's hope he's put enough fuel in, as Moraes has DNF'd at the moment. Why has that happened? Yeah, well, I'm not sure. He might have been off the road somewhere. Well, we might be able to find out here. It might not be related to Gary Brown here, but we'll see anyway. going up the hill. Yeah, just losing of the rear at the top of the hill through Coppice. But yeah, you're right, not too many drivers left to come in from here on in. And the position's somewhat settled, but we'll really get a view for that when everybody actually has made that stop.
Yes, we will, and so we'll get that sort of sorting itself out here shortly as they try to be able to see what they can do. Urexoi there running around behind as they stand, waiting to see what will be able to happen here as they go. Daniel Florea in 5th. I've got to say, I am very, very impressed with this McLaren driver, actually able to keep all 4 tires onto the black stuff. This is a impressive run. Can't be said the same for James Heb, though, as he finds himself off track.
Well, it was an early stop for Heb. He came in from the lead in the AMS, and even despite his long pit stop there, you thought he might still give him a fighting chance, but unfortunately he hasn't really got one anymore. That's Gary Brown having trouble with Coppice for the 2nd lap in a row there, and Braden Merling also had trouble with turn 1 as well as James Heb, who went off. Just a slight dipping of the wheels for Merling. Well, Heb did the same, but had much more drastic consequences, unfortunately, for him. So yeah, that's a real shame. As we see Taylor Lane now making his way in, just making sure he's not breaking any rules by driving down the pit boxes. And now he will pull in himself. So yeah, really not long to go now until we see everybody in. They really will be reaching their limit because, of course, they are limited to 50% of the normal fuel tanks these cars hold.
Yes, they are, and so that really and truly does mean here at about this point that drivers probably absolutely at their full tank limit. I'm amazed, frankly, Jonathan Willett has been able to make it around. Lane and Delano both coming in right now, so they're going to be down pit lane. We are still waiting for Braden Malang to come down and Jonathan Willett. Those are the only 2, as Shreyas also coming down here as we speak. So looks like we are reaching the end of the pit stop window with about 15 minutes left to go here. Wouldn't be surprised, and indeed, that's a good commentator's curse for Jonathan Willett.
Yeah, makes his way in as Delano is leaving. Remembers the rule about driving down pit boxes. Yeah, interesting to see Delano has come in as well. Where's Venkataraju? He's also into the pit lane, making his way out, but lost a 2.5 seconds. Where has James Heb ended up? Well, I'm afraid he's a long way back, and that's exactly what we expected, really. It's going to be a fight between those 2 championship contenders, and they're separated by just more than 4 seconds, around 4 or 5 seconds here at this stage. The Mercedes on your screen right now actually lost a 1.5 seconds in that pit stop phase, so very difficult for anybody to catch Delano now in the remainder of this race.
Well, and speaking of people that it's going to be hard to catch, let's look at our leader overall here, Sean Campbell. 18 seconds to the good over Dean Timms. This is exactly the kind of dominant performance that we come to expect here from him. John Casey, the latest to come down pit lane. That looks like some pretty heavy damage there to that Ferrari. Looks like Casey tried to get onto it there. Yeah, just recognized that it wasn't going to be going. That car crabbing heavily, and I think that is day done for the 046 racing driver.
Yeah, that's not nice, and I'd be surprised if he can get that repaired before the end, and he doesn't really need to pick up points or whatever. It's great news for Michael Fowler, though, because he'll be able to possibly get Neubauer and Casey here before the end of the race, if he keeps going. So Urexoi just recovers there in 6th place. We'll see what happened to him. Now, what's their contact here? Braden Merling making his way out the pit lane, which is always a contentious issue here, and maybe on that tighter line, Urexoi slightly thrown off. Oh, and slight contact with John Casey, I think that was. Yeah, maybe that's the reason for Casey's extra stop here. He's coming back again. Maybe there was a bit of damage there.
Yeah, maybe
Casey Metzger, excuse me. It's so totally different. Never mind.
Well, nevertheless, we ride on board with Casey Metzger here, and you can see just nowhere to go there for the number 15. He was really caught between a rock and a hard place there. Urexoi able to continue on. Let's focus our eyes here, though, on up for the battle for P2. Dean Timms making a little bit of a mistake on that last lap, and that's allowed for Jonathan Willett to be able to catch back in on the number 46.
Yes, gap that's closing. I mean, Dean Timms has been bleeding time slowly throughout this race, really. No discredit to him, but he did start on the front row, and he's not the quickest in this pro category. He's actually an AM, classified as an AM in the EU, but the way that the pro and AM split works, it does mean if you're above 2,500, then you're a pro, and if you're below, you're an AM. However, the admins do have the power to kind of put you where they want you to be, if you like. So Dean Timms is deemed, as on par with the AMs in the EU, but on par with the pros in the US, and it does make his life a little bit more difficult here. And it means that R.A.W.S is catching him slowly, lap by lap. So this has been kind of a slow-burning, developing battle, but now it finally has developed. Dean Timms will want to try and hang on here. But they're both being caught by R.A.W.S, you'd imagine. It's just over 10 minutes to go, although remains to be seen how hard R.A.W.S is pushing, really, given his incident limit problems that we saw 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, we're going to have to see there, and that's a good point to bring into contention here. All of these drivers having to be very, very careful to not go too hard, trying to see what they are able to get, and then they've got to really thread the needle in between pushing as hard as possible and not running afoul of those incident limits. As we watch here, it does look like Dean Timms bled a little bit more time away. Let's call it about 0.2 of a second, 2.5 of a second on that last lap, allowing for Jonathan Ouellette to be able to pull in a little bit more there. Getting that gap down to about 0.6 of a second, and this is going to be a little bit of a problem. That's Fabian Ponce directly up ahead of them. Some slower traffic. Oh, that's going to compromise Timms there just a little bit going through Starkey's Bridge, but he is going to be able to hold on to the advantage here for now.
Yes, he was slightly compromised, though, in terms of his line. Didn't get the best lines through the middle sector there, and so Ouellette did gain another 10th here and there. Of course, time is not really on anybody's side anymore. Only 10 minutes to go, and so moves do have to be made sooner rather than later here at this stage. Oh no, it's gone wrong in the background. Ouellette in the wall. Fabian Ponce follows him. My goodness, we've never seen that before. Ouellette just goes off the road. Fabian Ponce completely follows him in exactly the same way. It's just that grass on the outside of the chicane.
It was indeed, and frankly, just spinning in sympathy there was Fabian Ponce. You can see it. He caught the curb there. That unsettled the car a little bit, and that is enough to get him off into that grass that we've talked about so many times here tonight. Ewan and Ponce just getting out to the outside as well. Almost a mirror move between the two.
Dear me. I don't think the two actually made contact either, which makes it all the more remarkable. Ouellette was able to keep going, but it has allowed Dean Timms to hold on to second. R.A.W.S is up to third, and you can be sure there's some fairly hefty damage to Jonathan Ouellette's car now as well. That might allow Taylor Lane into fourth place as well. So yeah, unfortunate for Ouellette, but that his podium charge looks to be gone.
Yes, it does, unfortunately, but whose podium shot doesn't look like it's going anywhere is Sean Campbell, able to grow that gap up to now 19 seconds over Dean Timms as we continue to work our way around right now. The closest battle we have out on track looks like it's back down for 12th overall. This is going to be Gary Brown and Casey Metzger, and as we join in there, Casey Metzger getting a little bit squirrely there coming off the corner.
Yeah, just keeping things on the road, thankfully. Having a bit of a difficult time. Braden Merling is having a better run of things here in race 2, which is good to see. He's in 5th at the moment. As I've already said, didn't have the greatest race 1. And he's recovered a little bit here in race 2. 5th place just for the moment. Another 38 points to add to his tally, but it's another 12 being lost to Delano at the moment to add to an already 27-point championship lead. So it's going to end up nearly 40 points by the end of the day. And Shez Venkatarazu is really closing in now on Braden Merling. Only 15 points behind coming into this race. That's not going to change here today, as in the positions are not going to change, but he is going to close by another 8. And Michael Fowler obviously going to lose out to Venkatarazu because he's had a pretty disappointing day by his standards. So we do see changes inside the top 3, but we also see a much bigger lead now for Justin Delano at the front of this championship battle.
Yes, we do, and so that is going to be good news there for Delano. We watch here Metzger as he continues to work his way around, trying to close in on about that 0.6 of a second gap. There is your leader, though, in the AM class right now, Justin Delano for ERS by Skyline Designs, working his way around. Now, he is going to have a little bit of lap traffic to deal with up the road from him. It looks like that's not lap traffic. That's R.A.W.S. That is a battle for position, but it is Pro versus AM.
It is indeed. So it's not going to be contested between the two of them. I just want to know why Justin Delano's cat looks so concerned in that picture. But anyway, just making me chuckle there. But anyway, he's certainly having a nice time of things at the moment. Justin Delano, just all his own weight. As we go back to Gary Brown, is he closing on a couple of cars up in front here? Yeah, Gary Brown is just closing in on Braden Melling. He's kind of got in between this AM battle we were watching a few moments ago, and looking to try and get inside the 11th place overall. We do actually see the top 6 in Pro in those positions overall. However, behind that, it is a bit of a mess with the likes of Gary Brown just in with the AMs at the moment, as well as Moraes as well when he was still running. Oh, as we see Andrew Hewitt off the road.
And there it looks like Hewitt's going to have a little bit of an off there as he works his way around. But Casey Metzger, this battle that we've been keeping our eye on, a little bit of dirt kicked up in front. Metzger trying to close down on the back of Gary Brown, as you said. Not a Battle 4 class, but Brown looking a little bit squirrely there. Not looking necessarily as quick as he would like it to go, kicking up a lot of dirt. And if I'm Casey Metzger, that is music to my eyes.
Absolutely, if that's possible. He's certainly going to be enjoying what he's seeing at the moment. The Ferrari just having to get out the way as... Oh, R.A.W.S makes a mistake there, I think. Through the old hairpin. Or was he just letting Delano through as Gary Brown goes for a spin at Coppice, and it might have involved one of the Ferraris of Andrew Hewitt, who's been off 2 times in 1 lap here. And, whoa, there's big damage here as Justin Delano goes off the road to avoid them. That was a heart-in-mouth moment.
Yes, it was. Delano just absolutely holding on for dear life, it looked like, as we watch here Gary Brown coming through the corner, just losing the rear end of that Porsche, as sometimes it is wont to do, and whoa, threading the needle there, maybe a little bit of contact with that Ferrari, and indeed, that's sending the number 7 there of Andrew Hewitt around, but whoa, and Hewitt, is that incident points there maybe for him?
I think he actually had damage. I saw it. Sorry, just moving my mic there. I saw him without what do you call it? The kind of glass between the engine and the real life. I don't know what that's called, but anyway, the kind of rear window wasn't there anymore, if you like. So he had some damage. I'm not sure whether it was due to that contact or previous, but he had to come in as Braden Melling goes off and hands Casey Metzger a top 5.
Yes, he does, and Casey Metzger says, thank you very much. I will move my way up and forward. Good stuff there for Metzger. He's going to be very, very pleased with that running. As we watch exactly what happened here, it just looks like they're coming out of McLean. Yeah, that's 2 offs. He had an issue there through McLean's, and you and I wonder if he maybe just got into his head a little bit, missed his braking line there coming into Coppice as a result.
Possibly. I mean, it's difficult to kind of get back into the rhythm once again after mistakes, even small ones like that. So yeah, I mean it's possible, but it's not good news for Melling either way, who loses out on a few more points. He's approaching on getting lapped by his championship rival here, which really would be a very symbolic moment almost between the two of them, Delano and Melling, if you like, because it certainly signals Delano's taking of the control of this championship. Now we've seen in AM. Particularly, I mean, we've seen this in all the other championships. Think about EU. The Pro titles are pretty being dominated by one driver at the moment in EU and US. The AM's a lot closer, but in the US AM Championship, we're starting to see Delano just take control a little bit of this title now. But of course, there are still 4 rounds and 8 races remaining as we hit 3 laps to go, quite possibly here.
Yeah, only about 3 laps to go, so not nearly enough time here to be able to get everything going here as Campbell works his way by some slower lap traffic. The gap has come down a little bit there to Dean Timms. It's down to about 17 seconds as they run, but I still don't think that's going to be a whole lot of worry there for Sean Campbell.
No, it certainly won't be. I mean, he has actually lost a bit of time to Dean Timms over the second half of this race since they emerged from the pit lane. It won't be too much of a concern to him. He's just got to keep it on the road from here and try and take another win. He really is starting to take control of this Pro Championship as if he wasn't already. This is going to be, if he can convert, this will be his 6th win in a row, and he has yet to finish outside of the top 2 since the second race at Spa, which is seeming like a long time ago now for Sean Campbell. So he very much is in control of this championship, just splitting the bit of a battle between Metzger and Mailing, if we can call this a battle at this stage.
Yeah, it's certainly spread out there a little bit as there is Jonathan Willett, though. With that damage to the front end of the Mercedes, he's certainly starting to close in on the back of Harry Wills, courtesy of a mistake here from Harry, just catching it wrong there at the end of the grass. Was he able to keep all 4 tires in the black stuff through the rest of it? It certainly does look that way, as now he's able to pull everything back together, but that cost him enough time. The gap's down to about 0.7 of a second. Oh, and that's what's really sent him around, a touch of the grass going down into Redgate, and that spun Harry right around.
He's got to be so careful now with the incident limit, because we saw him with only 6 incident points to go, and we've just seen him use about 3 or 4 there. 23 incident points. Harry Wills has got to be so careful throughout the remainder of this race, and it's not great, because I know there's only 2 laps to go, including this one, but you need to be able to use those up. You need to be able to push to the very limit if you're in a battle like this. But you can see he just can't. He dares and doesn't dare go anywhere near the edges of the circuit at the moment, because he's scared of getting that incident point. And Jonathan Willett, with all respect to him at the moment, I think is not quite as quick as Harry Wills, but Harry Wills is being so careful. We just watched him pick up another one there, and so one trip slightly off the road, Harry Wills is going to end up having to take a drive through, and that's why he's going so slowly through Coppice there. Ouellette has got a great chance now to try and go through.
Yes, he does. Does he try to send it here? Going through Roberts as they come to the white flag. It doesn't look like it, but he is able to carry a lot more speed. Harry catches it. Is that going to be enough out onto the grass to give him that penalty? That's going to be enough there for Wills. My goodness gracious.
Well, he's going to have to take that post-race. It might be a 20-second, 30-second penalty. I'm not sure what they're going to do about that. I'm not sure what the iRacing service is going to do about that, is what I mean, but all he can do now is pretty much fight as hard as possible. Not sure why the two were driving into each other down the straight there, but either way, it's not good news for Wills. Round the outside for Ouellette, and that just about sums it up for Harry Wills.
Yes, it does, but meanwhile, up at the front of the field, no concern at all is Sean Campbell, who yet again takes victory here from Donington. 2 for 2 for the RSR by butt kicker driver Dean Timms. Looks like he's got a pretty clear path up ahead of him, works his way by through a couple of lapped cars, and he will claim P2.
Yeah, 6th win in a row and 7th win overall, 8th win overall in this championship now for Sean Campbell, as the AM winner has also already come across the line. Harry Wills coming towards the line right now as well. Thankfully for him, he's actually the last pro car on this lap. So Urexoy got lapped by Sean Campbell, but Harry Wills didn't, so he could be hit with a 1-minute penalty here, but it won't matter. He will come across the line despite that, and he will finish in 5th place, but it's lower than he was hoping for today.
Yes, it was a very, very heartbreaking day out there for the number 95. Meanwhile, in the AN category, Justin Delano able to take victory and extend his championship lead up at the front of the field. That's exactly what Delano needed to have happen here in race 2.
It certainly is. He's gotten his lead now in the championship to nearly 40 points. We're not quite sure who it's going to be over yet. However, it's nearly 40 points. It was actually Wills who drove straight into Ouellette there. I'm not sure why. But either way, that contact certainly sealed the deal, if it wasn't already, with regards to the incident points. But it was a very nice move around the outside from Ouellette. I mean, I don't think any blame can be put on him down at the old hairpin for the contact that was made, because Wills ended up getting into the side of him, really.
Yeah, he did. As there we run through that final finishing order. Sean Campbell taking the victory from Dean Timms over Jonathan Willett, rounding out your podium. Taylor Lane and Harry Wills will be able to hold on to that 5th place position. Aaron Urexoy and Gary Brown, both a couple of laps down, and Matthew Marias there finishing in 8th place. And then what about down in the AM field, Ewan?
Yeah, let's have a look. At the AMS, of course, it's just Delano who's taken the win. 5 seconds in the end ahead of Shares Venkatarazu. Then James Hebb rounding out the podium. Very good podium from him. And Daniel Flores 4th place for the McLaren. Top 5 for Brendan Melling as well. Casey Metzger ending up behind him for some reason. Don't know if we missed that. Eric Blumenkrantz finished in 7th, also 1 lap down. Jeff Carollo did get to the end, as did Andrew Hewitt and Michael Fowler. John Casey didn't, neither did Fabian Ponce or Drew Neubauer, but they will score points. Travis Kepler and Matthew Pleasance unfortunately will not after that race.
No, they will not, unfortunately. And Donington here really throwing up a curveball for a lot of these drivers. My goodness gracious, Ewan. This is a fast and frenetic racing at its finest. Donington never, ever fails to take away any good action. But that is unfortunately going to wrap things up for us here on behalf of myself, DJ Clark, and Ewan O'Leary, who's been joining me here in the commentary booth, as well as our director and producer, David Christie, behind the scenes. It has been a pleasure to bring you both of these races here today. And until we see you out on the track, thanks for watching.